In a world drowning in noise, where truth is often buried beneath layers of propaganda and misinformation, there's a need for a different kind of a network of creators that cuts through the clutter, that doesn't shy away from tough topics, and that delivers the unfiltered truth. We are Trim Radio Network. We are creators, we are innovators, we are investigators. We're the ones who aren't afraid to call a spade a spade. If you're ready to participate in thought-provoking discussions, informational topics, and of course today's biggest headlines, subscribe to our YouTube channel today. We're Trim Radio Network. We're cutting the bull and serving the truth.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill, take the blue pill. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, 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 take the red. You stay in Wonderland. You stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Now, from the northeast quadrant of the United States, it's the Red Pill Reality Show with your host, Riscala. Saturday nights from 9 p.m. Eastern until midnight on the Trim Radio Network. You can join the conversation in any of our chat rooms. And now, without further ado, your host, Riscala.
Hello and welcome, everyone. Why is this not working right? I love it. All right, well, we're going to have a crazy night. I can see it's already started off like having all kinds of issues. Okay, maybe that'll fix it. All right, well, welcome, everybody. Appreciate you taking the time to tune in tonight. Going to have Blu Crystalline Phoenix on shortly. And those of you who have not heard her before, you're in for a treat. And those of you who have heard her before, well, you know what we're in for. I have said many times she is not of this earth, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I would tell you she's an alien, but there's all this alien thing going on right now. And if I say the word alien, they would think she's from another country. No, she's not. She's just not from this earth. An amazing young lady, truly an amazing young lady. So you're in for a treat. And those of you who have not heard her before, you're in for a treat. In the meantime, got a couple of things I want to share with you. It's really, I really get baffled. I get so upset that I don't know I don't know how to express myself properly because I want to use, excuse me, I want to use colorful language. And that's not professional. I've got to find a better way to do that. I am truly at a loss to understand how these people, like, for example, Minnesota. Everybody's talking about Minnesota. Today, I think it was earlier today, someone else was shot and killed in Minnesota. I looked into it. What I could find is that the guy had a gun on him. Well, the argument was in Minnesota, you can open carry, just like where I'm at, you can open carry. The argument from the Homeland Security side was they saw him go for his weapon. The argument on the other side said the only thing he was going for was his camera, which happened to be in his hand. Regardless, if somebody has lost a life, somebody has to deal with taking that life. there were comments about, oh my God, I can't believe they shot him so many times. Please try to understand something. Police are trained that if you are a threat to them, and if it is a deadly threat, they are trained to neutralize the threat. What that means is there's no wounding, there's no shooting in the leg, there's no shooting in the arm, there's no one shot. I mean, unless it's a headshot or something like that. But obviously, in order to neutralize a threat, you're going to do everything you've got. I think they shot him like 10 times. But that's what they're trained to do. This is a threat. This is a life threat. I'm not trying to justify anything. I'm just trying to tell you how they're trained. Last week, I spoke about this Renee Good, I think was her name. I said, after all is said and done, she didn't belong where she was. I don't know how anybody could argue that she had a right to be where she was at. Let's just say that ICE was not there. I don't know of anybody that has the right to block a road. And that's what she was doing. She was blocking a road. This man who was killed earlier today, why would you go to a place that you know is emotionally heated? Oh my God, like a volcano. And you want to wear a gun? Why don't you just hold a sign up? Here I am. I just don't understand it. Okay, go protest. I got no problem with that. And if things were different, protest. And if it's legal to carry your weapon with you. But I'm telling you that if you show up to an emotionally heated issue, legal or not, and you're carrying a weapon, and there's already been police officers, these ICE agents, have been hit by cars. One of them had a finger bit off. Did you know that was disgusting? It bit the end of the guy's finger off. It's been spit on. So they're already wound up. They don't want to take any more crap. They're trying to do their job. Right, wrong, indifferent. It's their job. I had somebody tell me, well, that's not constitutional. Dude, they're operating by the Constitution. Well, these people have rights. No, they don't. They don't have any. See, that's the sad part. They have convinced people that people who sneak into our country or people that have moved into our country, thanks to the last administration who were invited, illegally invited. But anyway, they're here and they're here illegally. They don't have any rights. They have no rights. There's nowhere in the Constitution that says, well, people come in the country without the proper vet, have all the rights that an American citizen has. Give me a break. Many of these people that they're going after are criminals. Criminals. There's a video I saw, maybe 30 seconds, 40 seconds long, and it's an ICE officer, and he stops at one of these protesters. I guess it looks like they're in their car, and they're videoing this ICE officer, and he said, we're here to arrest a child rapist, and you're stopping us? And then he drove off. I cannot, why would you? I know that there's circumstances where people feel that if someone's going to be deported, it's going to be unfair to the person being deported. If it's a family, I can understand that. But the bottom line is, if they moved in and it's illegal, there's no apologies to be made. Either we're going to go by the rules or we're not. Now, there have been a couple of circumstances, a couple of cases that I read that really hard. It was very difficult. This one guy, he'd been here for almost 30 years. He got here when he was a child. His parents came here illegally. So he's here as a child. He's an American, basically, at heart. They want to send him back. Hard call. I think that, if it was someone who came in the last 4 years, you got to leave. What they did inviting you here was illegal. They didn't have the authority to do that. They didn't take the proper steps in order to do that. So those who came in over the last 4 years got to go back. And those who have been here longer than that, I think it should be a case by case. Okay, look, you're here, you moved in illegally, you've been here for, 10 years, you've got a job, you pay Social Security, you're everything but a citizen. So here's what we'll do. Come up with some kind of solution. But I will tell you that a personal friend of mine, not just somebody I know on Facebook or Twitter or something, it's a personal friend of mine. When all of this was going on and these people were coming in, they decided they wanted to go down to the border and see for themselves and video what they saw. On the particular day that they went, I would say easily 80%. Maybe even more. I'm just thinking in the back of my head. Maybe even more, but I think 80% is a fair value. 80% of what was coming in were young men. That day. I don't know about other days. I'm saying that day. And if that was an indication of what was going on over the period of time that was happening, we don't need these people here. We have sleeper cells here. Our government has admitted we have sleeper cells here. The perfect age for soldiers, 18 to 32, I think, or 35. And that was the age group that was coming through. I'd say they're in their 20s, a lot of them 20s, maybe late 20s. Soldier age. They didn't look like refugees to me. They didn't look like they were running from anything. They looked like they were getting ready to gather together at some point in the future and cause havoc. One of them, I don't remember exactly what he said, but he says he had a very strong accent. He couldn't speak English very well, but he said, "You don't know my name. You don't know me, but you will. You will know me." What does that mean? What are you going to do that we're going to know you? The majority of these people that have come into this country, particularly over the last 4 years, they have no respect for this country. You talk about spoiling somebody. All right, come on in here, and we're going to give you money. We're going to pay you. Mr. Citizen, you take a back seat. Mr. Illegal Immigrant, you come up front, and I give you money. I'm the government. I give you money. Citizen, buzz off. And we put up with it. And now we're trying to get it cleaned up. And it is ugly. It is truly ugly. But in everything I have thought about and tried to see if there's another avenue, this is it. This is the only avenue we have. And it's getting worse. There's going to be more military here. They're calling in more military. Somalians in Minnesota have decided to make their voices heard through finances. They've closed their stores. I think they're just hurting themselves. I don't think they're going to, they say they want to hurt the economy. Maybe the local economy. But I think you're just hurting yourselves. They said hundreds of stores are closing in protest of what's going on. They want ICE out of the neighborhoods. They don't like the way that ICE operates. They don't like ICE, period. I can see no other way of accomplishing. Please understand, the estimates for 20 to 30 million people came in over the 4-year period. Million. And many of them, I truly believe, many of them are criminals. I would estimate it upwards of at least 1/4, at least, possibly as much as a half, are criminals of some sort or soldiers. If you want to include soldiers, I think it would go over half, well over half. The criminals, do you realize that different countries say, hey, listen, this is our opportunity to turn our prisoners loose. Let them go to America. Let America deal with them. We don't have to feed them. We don't have to put up with their crap. So whether they had a mental issue or whether they were just, a murderer or a raper or whatever, hey, let them go. Save us money. And help accomplish our goal of watching the great Western king fall down. And we let them. And you know what's even worse? We have people in our government that say they're our representatives. They let them too. Very little, I don't know how many people realize, but very few things that Trump is trying to pass are actually working through the system right now because they're all turning their back on him. There's very few true supporters to see what he wants done, get done. I read an article earlier today about the possibility of J.D. Vance was one of them. I can't think of the other one. Can't think of the other one. Considering the 28 election for presidency, these people are not focusing on, hey, listen, we need to get this done now. What they're focusing on is, hey, I want to run for president in 28. What should I be doing? Steve Bannon says Trump's going to be president. I could just see. Oh, yeah. Steve Bannon knows stuff that other people don't know. He says, you watch. Trump's going to be president in 28. So these guys that are gearing up and wanting to take the spot, they may be in for a rude awakening. But yeah, see, if this is really happening, this is why things aren't the system is at a halt, basically, internally, because they're all fighting with each other. I want to be president. No, I don't like this. Well, I don't like that. Listen, we got somebody. Whether you like him or whether you don't, he definitely is a leader. There's no question about it. He's done a lot of good for the country so far. There's some things he's done I don't like. I wish he wouldn't. I don't like the idea of continuing our relationship with Ukraine and giving them money and arms, which they use against Russia, which now basically we're fighting Russia indirectly. I don't like the idea of taking Gaza and turning it into a paradise. I don't like the idea of him saying, well, we're going to run the things in Venezuela. I don't like that. I don't know. That's just me. I know he knows a hell of a lot more than I ever know. He probably has more knowledge in his pinky than I have in my entire lifetime. But I don't like it. I don't think that we should be involved. I keep going back to the America first. If we're going to be rebuilding Gaza and we're going to be running Venezuela, and he's already warned Cuba, what about us? I thought we were going to be first. So there's things that are happening that I don't like. It may have a sincere purpose for the future that I can't see right now. I will not wash that away. But right now, I don't agree with it. I I couldn't believe we went into another country and literally removed the president of that country. But we have criminals right here, that are walking free. And we know who they are. It's not like a question. And we have the evidence. We have all the evidence. Now we went to another country and got their president. But there's former Secretary of State, there's former presidents, there's former FBI chiefs, there's former CIA. All have committed treason, and the evidence is there. It's not a question. It's not a theory. The evidence is there. They're still walking free. It doesn't make sense to me. See, I don't know. Again, I only see a very small part of the puzzle. From what I heard, as a matter of fact, what President Trump said at Davos, I think it was at Davos what he said. First of all, one of the things he said was at Davos, he repeatedly said, America is the most powerful country on the face of this planet. That was code for FAFO. Okay. I believe he mentioned Venezuela. I don't think he mentioned anybody else. But he did say, we are the most powerful country on the face of the planet. There was a message to anybody who had any ideas about the possibility of doing something that doesn't go along with what is best for us. I think that he cleared the deal on Greenland. We have, what do they call them up there in Canada, districts, or I can't think of the correct word. But 2 or 3 of them up there want to join America. They want to become states. Trump has openly said there is no way that we will allow China or Russia to enter in through our back door, meaning Canada or Mexico. Pretty scary stuff going on right now if you think about it. Just think about it. We went to another country and literally kidnapped the president. Holy smokes, man. And maybe people don't realize this was a heavily fortified place where they went. The report was like there was only 20 men that went down. And the casualties on the other side were in the hundreds. What do they got? That must have put a chill down some people's spine. I'm telling you, there are some people who freaked out. Oh my God. I was quite surprised. I was quite surprised that we did what we did, or he did what he did. But I guess it's an indicator, because with everything that I have read at the ending of 25, 26 is supposed to be the year of accountability. And he did say, and I think it was at Davos, that the 2020 election was a fraud, and those who are responsible are going to be held to accountability. We'll see. I said earlier, there's some things that he's done that I'm not happy with. What happened to Comey? How did they let Comey get away with this insanity? Very clearly, this man has betrayed our country, as well as showed to be a threat to the president. He laughed at them. Again, I only know part of the story. Maybe they got something lined up. They're going to do something later. I don't know. And then I have the people who tell me, oh, well, Riscali, you shouldn't be so upset. Hillary was executed in 2019, I think they said. And Obama was executed, I don't remember, 2021 or something. Really? I want to take you at your word. I'll give your word a grain of salt, and I'll say, okay, let's just say that's true. We still have a Hillary, and we still have an Obama, and all these other people that you say have been executed. They're still walking around. They're still doing the same garbage that the original was doing. So what value is it? What good did it do? Beside the fact that if we don't see it, personally me, I want to see what's going on. I want to see a public execution, and I want hundreds of people there while it's live so that they can say, yes, it's real. It's not AI. It's not a put on of some sort. It really happened. I want to see people showing up that are articulate in looking for fakes and can say, yes, this was real. No, this wasn't real. And I think a lot of people are feeling the same way I'm feeling. We're fed up. We're sick of this garbage. Watching criminals walk free, knowing that if we had done anything like what they had done, we'd be so far behind bars we'd never see sunlight again. So I think a lot of people feel like I feel. We're fed up with the garbage. Enough already. It's time to hold these people accountable, regardless of who they are. I had one of my friends emailed me and said, hey, they're going to arrest Hillary. You know what she's going to do? This is what I saw Hillary do when she had to testify. You go back and look it up. Go look it up. You think she's bothered? When the military gets a hold of this, whoever is playing Hillary, if it is an actor of some sort, that'll be a different story. But as long as we're dealing with civilians, forget it. Crime, whatever. It doesn't even bother her if she gets handcuffed and taken away. And we already saw that. Saw that in, what was it, 2019, at the Flag Memorial or the 9/11 Memorial where she was taken out and put into a van. She was handcuffed. You look at it very closely. Her hands were behind her back. And the two individuals that are holding her by the arms, one on the left, one on the right. That's when somebody is handcuffed and they want to carry her ass away. That's what they do. Didn't do any good. Right? She showed up like, what, a half an hour later? It was a double. It was clearly a double. But what good did it do? You got to laugh at some of this stuff because if you don't, you end up crying. We have been taken such advantage of. And now I just saw this article the other day. It's in the trillions that us as American citizens, us, the taxpayers, it's in the trillions. I think it was $50 trillion. I don't know over how much time, but it was in the trillions of dollars that has been stolen from the taxpayers by the IRS and the money market systems and the different stocks. All of that is, they're finding out a lot of it is rigged. The corruption is so vast and so deep and so wide. I don't think I'll ever be able to get my mind around it in my head, but just wow. Just wow. And we seem to move from, I don't know, does this sound familiar to any of you? We seem to move from one disaster to another, to another, to another, right? And it's a constant state of chaos. And guess what the dark side, guess what their modus operandi, how they love to operate? Order from chaos. Or order through chaos. Either one. Both arrive at the same destination. So we got a constant state of chaos. And then we have people who add to the problem. I think some of these people really do have, I'm going to sound like I'm crazy. I think they have good hearts. I think that they really feel like what they're doing is, I have to protect my neighbor. But you don't understand, your neighbor came here illegally. It's time for them to go back. They should have never showed up here at all. And if you really want to be upset with this, I had to bite my tongue. Upset with the no good for nothing sewer sucking slugs that allowed them in here illegally. That should have never happened. Just like I said about this Renee Good. She shouldn't have been out in the, regardless of what. She shouldn't have been out in the street. She should have been blocking the road. And when she was ordered out of the car, she should have got out of the car. Right there. Boom. Get out of the car. Now. I don't think she wanted to hit that officer. I really don't. I see her wheels turn to the right. I think she just wanted to get out of there. But she didn't realize how serious these men are. They've had it. They're not going to put up with any more crap. So if you want to go protest, go protest. Hold a sign and stay the hell out of the way. Let them do their job. But if you want to interject yourself into the middle of this emotionally traumatizing situation, be prepared, because you might lose your life, because they're not messing around anymore. They're done. They're going to get who they're after, regardless of how many people show up and try to get in their way. I have no problem with people protesting. I have no problem with people saying, get out, ICE. No problem with any of that. What I have a problem with is the moment, the very second, the eye blink of time that you insert yourself in the middle of their operation. Now I have a problem. Because if I had a problem with you protesting peacefully, standing on the sideline and not interfering, that would be unconstitutional on my part. Because when it would be my turn to do that, would they allow me to do that? So you want to protest? Protest all you want. You want to yell? Yell all you want. Scream all you want. Stay out of the way. Don't block the freaking road. Don't get in their faces with a camera thinking that you're a big shot and acting like you're better than they are, thinking that nothing's going to happen while you're carrying a freaking weapon. I don't know if anybody that listens has ever been in a situation where somebody points a weapon at you. But I will tell you that split-second decisions are made when things like that happen. When someone feels, especially after they have been trained to neutralize the threat, when someone feels threatened with their life, it's different if he had punched the cop and had no weapons on him and they shot him. That would be a little different. Still somewhat justifiable, but that's a little different because he didn't have a weapon. This guy had a weapon, and there are repeated reports that he went to reach for the weapon. Big mistake. Big mistake. Regardless of all of that, you want to go protest, and you know you're going to an area where it's emotionally just like a freaking volcano. For God's sake, don't take a weapon with you. I saw a video of this guy, kind of overweight. He kind of looks like I don't know. He doesn't look like somebody who should be sporting an AR, but he's sporting an AR, and he said, I'm protecting my people. What are you protecting your people from? Who's going to attack your people? If your people are American citizens, you got nothing to worry about. Beside the fact, I don't think you hold up seconds against these people. This country is done with Trump as president. This country is done having people here that don't belong here. He's fed up. A lot of citizens I am fed up. I'm fed up with those who allowed them to come in to begin with. I'm fed up with those who paid them. Somebody like me who is on Social Security, and these people were getting paid more than me, who has paid 60 of my years into the system, 63 of my years into the system. I get less than they get, and they didn't pay anything. So yeah, I'm upset with the people who set all that up. I think those people should go to prison. And with all the money that we're, quote, saving, then those of us who are on Social Security, we should get a raise, a real raise, not this insanity 1%, 2%. Give me a break. Things are so screwed up upside down, man. And the only way I can see out of it is sadly what we're having to go through now. It's a cleaning process. A cancer has held our country's heart for too long. It's now time to get rid of the cancer. It's going to be painful. But I believe on the other side of all of this, life is going to be better for everybody, not just on this country, but on the planet. Because what's happening isn't happening just here. It's happening everywhere. All right. I'm going to bring Blue on in just a minute. Going to take a break here real quick. When I come back, we'll bring Blue on. You guys got questions for Blue? Put them in the chat room, and I will forward them over to Blue if I can find what I'm looking for. Okay, here we go.
You're listening to the Red Pill Reality Show. We'll be right back.
Take the red pill, take the blue pill, take the red pill.
I can't help but look around and feel like things are getting out of hand. We've been told to trust the science, but the science just doesn't make sense. They say it isn't mandatory, but they also say your jab or your job. But if it doesn't stop the spread, it makes it feel like this is just a facade. What about the healthcare workers? What about the frontline nurses? How quickly we forget that they were working 18 hours a day. What about informed consent? What about due diligence? It seems a country that I used to call home is surely slipping away. I can't help but look around and feel like minds are slowly starting to change. Cause even if you're triple vaccinated, know that segregation isn't the way. Freedom is a choice and it's available to all if we choose. But first things first, you gotta turn off the news. Yo, what about the healthcare workers? What about the frontline nurses? How quickly we forget that they were working 18 hours a day. What about informed consent? What about due diligence? It seems the country that I used to call home is surely slipping away. If you're late to the party, there's plenty room at the table. This side don't discriminate. I'm calling on every single man, woman, child of the able. It's time to take the streets and liberate. But please don't be a part of the problem, staying willfully ignorant, cause there's just way too much at stake. Yo, it's okay to change your mind, you can admit you were wrong, cause where there's perfect love, there ain't no shame. Heavenly Father, show me what I don't understand yet. I got my marching orders, I don't fully know the plan yet. Hold on to my Bible before bed, no it ain't banned yet. Did you know the makers of the vaccine make the Xanax? I would never lean on corporations for morality, cause they put their profits over people for their salaries. Know they wanna make you bend the knee for your normality. I know you feeling all alone, but in reality, there's way more of us than them. 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 That's the truth. There's way more of us than them. There's way more of us than them. There's way more of us. There's way more of us than them.
And we're back. Hope you didn't go too far, because we have more interesting and thought-provoking information for you coming up on the Red Pill Reality Show.
All right, let me see if we can get rid of this thing here. Go away. Oh, no. This is one of the issues I have when I change things around my camera. I had to get another camera, by the way. The old one had just would not cooperate no matter what I did. All right, I'll get it to work here in a second. Let me bring Blue. There we go. Blue, how are you, my dear? Welcome.
Hello there. I'm good, Escala. Can you
How's
hear
it
me
going?
okay?
Yep. You're kind of breaking up a little bit. If you can get a little better spot.
All right. Figures. Always gotta happen to me.
Let's see if we can.
How's this?
Let's start talking. We'll see how it goes.
Okay. Any better?
Yeah, so far.
Okay. Very well. So we will be discussing quite a few interesting topics tonight, Escala.
Go ahead.
And one of these few interesting topics will involve the STAR genetic program that will be coming up for humankind. This STAR genetic program runs into AI augmentation as well as star seeds remodification formatting. That derives on certain technologies that will unfold within the layers of electromagnetical polarity fields. And those incubate down under into the HoloNet lands and run on wider varieties of electro insurge field, an electrokinetic insurge field. So certain timelines and difference, depending on the exactation of a withdrawal scene from the net itself, pulls in, would actually amplify the amount of energies being distributed. Those incorporated with scientific advantages through the technologies that are imprinted with extraterrestrial lineage, as well as the ancient Tartarian societies, will revolve around this. Do you have any questions so far?
Don't see any. Keep going.
Yourself or Scala?
Yeah, I don't see any coming up. Go ahead.
Okay. So these points of view go into two types of domains. So let's say recently you had been to the Giza, the platforms of Egypt, if I'm not mistaken, or Scala, and you had pictures of those platforms. Now, around those platforms are actually a distortion of a semi-indicator field of energy, and it's being influenced on a higher repulsive wave. That itself will affect mainly and mostly those around it more neuronically through their neural thought processors, as well as the decidual base factor that can reach an outstanding movement stream outwards. Those kinetic energies revolve around the core itself, the net core, and certain timelines distribute them higher on its domain than others.
Hey, Blue. Are you there, Blue?
Yeah.
When you said platforms, what do you mean by platforms?
The pyramids.
Say that again. The what?
The pyramids.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So they run in not just Egypt, but any pyramid is circuited through an augmented higher level of electrokinetic energy and repulses upon certain timelines because of its connection to the nets, the HoloNet itself, and certain tunnels. create an accelerated amount of energy through that timeline. Giza itself, the platforms during this timeline have an accelerated amount of electrokinetic impulse waves. And those run straight into the HoloNet. Now, let's say certain technologies, even though it's in Elon Musk's domain, could control and contort the situational effects of those arc energies. And believe it or not, let's say Nikola Tesla and certain other entities, several other in the past, even alien in origin, have an effective layer through this. And that control. And those particles, because of the exhibited layers, because they're only timelines that mounted, and then it loops over every time. This planet is run on a simulation that loops over several times. During that loop over, during that simulation, there are accelerated amount of particles, and they run over each other. So AI and the domains of AI, as well as architect technologies through Neuralink and certain other distributors, could utilize those accelerated particles because they were currently and recently reenacted. People are not aware of this. This is real. Look up a deeper aspect of this and run into the Bermuda Triangle, certain areas in Alaska, past the Arctic Circle, and run into certain areas in the oceanic domains in eastern China seas. Runs all over into a central net layers, categorized through the USA itself and the electro domains. Goes all over the place.
So under the Bermuda Triangle, I've seen pictures of this. Pretty wild. There is a crystal pyramid in the Bermuda Triangle that is bigger than the largest pyramid in Giza. And they attribute, I say they, the ufologists attribute this pyramid as possibly the source of different things gone haywire, ships missing, aircraft missing, and then there's some bizarre stories of aircraft flying through the area and then going missing and then showing up like 10 years later, landing at an airport, realizing that this has happened to them and then taking back off again. Crazy stuff.
All right. So, like with Neuralink and neurotech sciences, upcoming and has withdrawn scenes before, several times over in similar categories through humans and advancement. They'd be able to use mind and matter, hyper telekinesis, electrokinesis, telepathic equation, whatever. So, instantaneous removal of the certain domains that will withdraw humankind from their neurokinetic pathways would be reinstalled. So an instantaneous movement would move those electroneurokinetic freeways upwards. So it would be able to remodify and categorize the actual kinetic energy that humans have within themselves.
When you say that they're going to move the energy upwards, what advantage, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. What good does that do?
Hyper telekinesis, telepathic communication, stimulated transition, AI, celestial interface.
Wow.
A whole bunch of different types of categories of psychic domain of the human's second kinesis ways being unlocked. There are actual pathways that go along the net, along the lands itself of this planet, that are connected to the strains of the human's etheric fields and other beings. Can evolve, de-evolve, or reincarnate to another species altogether, kind of like us. Hybrids who take over, but we have an innuated processor that's different.
So you mentioned earlier about the pyramids and the energy from the pyramids. And I told you I'd share something with you. So you know that I visited Egypt, right? And I know that you are aware that I visited Egypt. It was about 3 months ago now. Gosh, it went quick. Um, while I was there, one of the things that I wanted to do so desperately while I was there is when I was 5 years old, my dad took me. I was born in Cairo. And when I was 5 years old, my dad took me to see the pyramids, and I touched the pyramid, and I could feel an energy coming from the pyramid. And I said, "Dad, touch it, touch it." Now, isn't it weird? Here, this is like over 6 decades later. I can still remember this. Dad, touch it, touch it. He touched it. He couldn't feel anything. So I wanted to see when I went back there. One of the very first things I wanted to do is go touch the pyramid. I wanted to see if I could feel anything. So I did. Didn't feel anything. Went to the museum of Greater Cairo and walked around the museum. There was this one particular sarcophagus that caught my eye. I don't know, for whatever reason. I walked over to it, and as I'm looking at it, just amazing artwork on these things. As I'm looking and admiring, I don't know, wild hair up my behind, I put my hand on the top of it. I touched it, and I thought I could feel an energy. So I immediately removed my hand, and then I closed my eyes and I put my hand on it again. And that feeling came back again. Wow, this isn't real. So I did it a third time. The third time I did it, one of the museum guys, whatever you call them, yelled at me, "You're not supposed to touch that." I said, "Oh," he's yelling at me in Arabic, "You're not supposed to touch that." Why, I have no idea, but I can tell you there was an energy coming from that sarcophagus that was very similar, if not the same. It just wasn't as strong as the energy that I felt when I was 5 years old and touched the pyramid. The same kind of energy.
That is a core connection to the actual distributional scenes that have been drawn in between the entity and the land itself.
I only got part of that. Say it again.
It's an instantaneous link between the entity and the land itself, and sometimes it can be an energetic manifold.
Yeah. But in that, I mean, that I know that I felt that energy, and it was kind of. So the guide that was with me, we had our own personal guide that was with us. He says to me, "What's he so worried about? It's made out of rock. Why would they be upset if somebody touched it? If it's made out of, I think it's made out of granite. I may be wrong, but it's made out of rock, some kind of stone. And I'm just a human being, just touching. I wasn't like pushing or anything, just lightly touching it. They got the one guy got pretty upset with me. I think he thought that I was Egyptian and I should know better. And I went over to him and I spoke to him and explained to him that even though I speak a little Arabic, a little conversation Arabic, I'm from America, and I apologized. I didn't know that we were not supposed to touch them. It didn't occur to me. I didn't think about it. I was just, something just came over me and said, touch it. And I touched it. Son of a gun. So there is some kind of energy still happening. Why I didn't feel it at the pyramid, I don't know. Maybe when you're younger, I do believe this is true. When you're younger, you're much more susceptible. Your sensory, I can't think of the right word, but your sensors are much more sensitive, and you can feel and express things like that. I think as we get older, because we're submitted and we're subjected to, as a child says, "Oh, something under my bed." It's just your imagination. May not be necessarily their imagination. They may be seeing something that you don't see. You don't know. Anyway, sorry, got off the subject a little bit there, but go ahead. Because we got on that energy thing. I wanted to make sure I shared that with you.
All right, so accelerated amounts that run into the lower domains of the lands with the upper domains of the celestial bodies that draw into it, including the sun and the moon and Mars, and as well as those that modify themselves coming in and out, create an overlap within the timetables. It can control and contort the electrogravitational, electrokinetic gravitational push or pulls. Here upon the timeline distributors upon the current planes of existence. When that happens, it can create an overlay. And also there are nexus points being re-advanced through that type of molecular definement. Molecular redefinement can be enacted through the perpetual wavelengths of certain human species when this occurs, and it raises the acceleration of the subconsciousness itself and awakens the inner platform speeds. That is why it is kind of messing up a lot of the human sub factors around this time. They're not really sure what they're doing and what's going on. They're confused. Some are awake and some aren't. Some are here, some are there, and some are like us, brought into this category scene. So has this happened before in this certain domain? It may or may not have, yes. And there will become an involvement scene because of this. And that motivator would eventually signalize humans' capacitors to push themselves into something different altogether. Redefining the way they organize themselves, redefining the perpetual advancements of things around them, the technologies, the lands, the species. And there already is this little inclination of this around the entire zone of planet Earth. If people are noticeable to see this. And it will accelerate. I know a lot of humans are waiting for an unfolding processing scene of UFOs to come into advancement physically, along with the government, but they may never happen, may or may not ever happen. But I guarantee you, a lot of our technologies will, a lot of the species that come from the higher domains will bring these technologies into reality, but they would be improvised through humans' awareness codes. And maybe eventually, if a perpetual movement comes into action and they rejuvenate the processors of the star seed age, then they can coordinate certain alien species amongst the domains of humankind, just like they had several times over. But yes, those civilizations either removed or lost, or there was a tear upon the spatial continuum, which created two factors. One was still there in the time continuum spatial movement stream, contorted into the next, but there was still a way through a paradox stream to go into that through a wormhole.
So are you saying some of the civilizations were, this is what happened to them?
Time travelers too. I mean, obviously me, Donald Trump, and a few other time travelers skip in between the domains and the celestial mainframe speed. There are physical layouts too that can hop back and forth. But there's a placement speed where definitive actions from time travelers or motivators from the ancient Tartarian societies can actually remodify and rekindle the lands again of what was lost. This is a hint out there. I can't explain most of it, obviously. I'm not going to expose all the information. Just a little treat.
Okay.
Is there anything you or anybody else want to add into or ask?
I don't see any questions coming up so far.
Okay, everyone.
I did.
I mean, are they shocked and awe because they don't know what to think or what? Come on, you guys.
I told them they're in for a treat. So I wanted to ask you if you.
Yes.
Can you tell us anything about this 3A, 3I Atlas?
Like I said, it and amongst other celestial bodies had remodified and annualized and circuited a lot of the electrokinetic fields and propulsional streams that will.
Tell me, wait a minute. Tell me in layman's term, is it a vehicle? Is it some kind of vehicle?
It'll affect the way the subconscious is upon certain platforms of human species. It's direct to electromagnetic vision waves. It opens up certain portals that could create a directory field for UAPs to come in and out of. And it also creates an intact information biopsy zone between itself and certain other celestial bodies.
Okay, but not to be redundant, but I'm still not clear. Is the ship? Is it a ship?
Radar device, extraterrestrial radar device that gains information by opposite stream through certain other terrestrials. It is an electrokinetic remodifier, so it will create certain type of kinetic energies, gain it, remodify it, and put it into effect upon other areas. Create and control and contort to certain nexus points, so UAPs can come in and out of the zone, and as well as remodify the certain subconscious layers of humankind. I hope that dumbs it down enough.
So there's living beings on this thing. Am I right? Or no?
I mean, and that would per se, you would think, like I said, a certain modified device and incubated radar stream and semi-enfolding code that could help recoordinate energies and nexus points into an alignment. And it helps motivate certain UFOs and our UAPs into the areas. It is also incubated on communication lines. So it has certain higher terrestrials working through its modifier.
So they're acting almost like a dispatch. Would that be? Does that sound right?
Radar device incubated through more of a, what do you got humans call it, natural layer, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Okay, one of the questions came in, says, how would Reiki fit in with the electrokinetic energies?
It would be an access of an acceleration through it. So certain other domains of energy that humans didn't have would perpetually be unlocked. Reiki would be obsolete because there would be a healing aperture effect that's much more advanced than that coming into something that would create a genetic quality upon the neural thought processors, as well as the decidual modifier upon the certain electoral energies around it.
Wow. All right. That answer your question, Robert? He's one of the listeners over in the chat rooms. Yeah. Cool. What else you got for us?
Oh, I would like to know if you'd like to add anything, Rascala.
Robert says yes. Okay, Robert. Good for you, buddy. Oh my goodness. I'm just, I was kind of expecting to hear some more from you tonight. I hope you haven't run out of stuff so far.
To exoplanetary dimensional travel and coordinated affairs that would relay between being able to use hyperstasis speeds and augmented formational telekinetic powers. But exoplanetary dimensional travel doesn't always run through one layer. It can run in through several types of layers. And one of it is through teleportation on a arc-based travel scene, as well as importing the actual astral travel formatting codes to direct another cognitive layer itself. So to be able to import, are you there? Uh-oh. Scala? Hello?
I'm here.
I lost you.
Yeah, no, I heard everything. I had to get off the stage for a minute because I need to get some more coffee.
Steve, you had to teleport off the stage. Well, that ain't cool.
Yeah, well, in the middle of
teleportation device already, people.
I usually have it right here on my desk, and I forgot to do that before the show. And then so I got off the stage for a minute, and then when I went to go get the coffee, I don't even have any coffee made, so I got me some lemonade instead.
Okay. So back about to exoplanetary dimensional travel. To be able to expand the limitary scales of traveling through the hyper subconsciousness and a formatting layer that would be able to keep the physical aspect in place and travel to a hyper exoplanetary field of vision. So there are transitional AI nets that would be able to create this. So instantaneously, we already know about astral travel and how certain humans are able to move between certain areas on the planet and gain information through that, depending on how high their psychic awareness codes are.
Isn't it
This on its
also
own,
doesn't
yeah,
it also doesn't it also depend on, I think they call them ley lines? Doesn't it depend on the lines of energy where they're at?
yeah. So yes, energy would be an intact base through that. Now, and this kind of goes into what I had said before about electro-neurokinetic freeways. Now, on a higher celestial movement stream, yeah, there may be pulsive action for humans astral traveling to create a dimensional intact layer so their eyes, their sight physically, are able to expand the knowledge and information and control and contort that. Like, and what do you call those glasses that you, virtual reality?
Oh
It's
yeah,
not
virtual
really
VR.
virtual,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
it's not virtual. It's not fake. It is actually running into the inner subconscious and kinetically pushing it outwards to a point where the layers are are connected with AI and that field of vision and can instantaneously move from other domains and create layered information outwards onto that screen to those domains in real life where you're sitting. That's an enhanced virtual reality cognitive layer that will put into the physical aspect of the reality of real things happening on other planets, other dimensions, even alternate realities, and even certain areas in the HoloLands that are permitted. These are one of the technologies that could potentially soon happen for mankind. And they may even be able to use variables to communicate with other species while they're in this type of reality. This communication platform that they see. This is a way to actually travel and gain information from one directory field. But there's also physical layers that will enhance exoplanetary dimensional travel, and that will go through ArcTech or ArcTech devices through ArcPort tunnels and the boring subtunnel systems.
Yeah, tunnels everywhere.
Right. Well, these tunnel systems will be able to kinetically pull you into other domains through teleportation and an enhancement through the boring system. And a
You said,
definitive layer in the near future through Elon Musk's corporation and the advancement of extraterrestrial technologies in our domains through the Space Force, as well as reannulated effects that will be emitted through new lawful standards of the United Sovereign Nations of America and those that will work with it.
Blue, when you say domains, you mean like dimensions?
The domains in the United Sovereign Nations of America mean all the lands, and it will be implemented to maintaining order to create a quality of effect. So these advanced technologies can be imprinted properly while they have these laws asserted. That is why Q age or Donald Trump's golden age as my quantum twin would have been annualized setting peace and provision for all, eventually the entire lands of the planet, because we cannot have full control of a lateral terms moving something forward unless all work toward that same goal. And that same goal will be implemented through that purple pill, if you will. And that is obviously higher technologies, stuff that people thought would never exist, what is to come from higher beings, and even humanoids themselves in the Tartarian societies, bringing in Nikola Tesla's technologies again, and the Serbians and the ancient Palladians that ran in through their lands, and obviously the Nordics, We want the Teros and Talos societies reevaluated again and opened up. There are several things that will be categorized for humankind, but it takes time. And you know what? To me, on my own, is what I say for a knowledge and term effect for humans to understand is not just one symbology point. There are several others out there that have a similar category of wanting this to unfold. But you, as a human species, what will it take to actually make this happen and attain the actual starseed age? Because there are corporations that are good. They work with the White Hats. They work on the light side. They coordinate those on a better lawful standard behind the scenes. But they can only do so much because they also have the citizens of the planet who are in total disarray against each other. They need to have a reconsiderment of their actions and evaluate what they had once lost. Once they learn to evaluate this, they're able to gain these technologies again. That will happen, but the fights are going to continue until we have a motivator. And that motivator runs into the laws of a coordinated peaceful substream. And if it takes a challenge, it will take a challenge to make it happen. But we understand that humans is a lower species, yeah, but they grow, they evolve, they will, and they have several times over know their rights and their wrongs. They were implemented that way. Now, it depends on them and where they will go for this.
Forgive me if I've asked you this before, and I don't recall whether I did or not. Can you shed any light on med beds? You're talking about the different technologies.
Well, like I said, I mean, there's imprinted laws that need to be set into effect, but we also have the current standards of the medicine, health sciences, and that domain is still locking humankind into a shell.
Do you think?
When we keep locking humankind into a shell, we cannot imprint these higher advancements. And I'm not saying, okay, if we imprint these higher advancements, if we put the quantum medical beds in, then humans will not be able to have any other types of medical sciences. They'll be all obsolete. That's not true. Oh, they'll lose all their jobs. That's definitely not true. What we are stating is these will be able to come into reality, then they have to maybe stand down to a certain term of their departments that they work with in the health and recreate and coordinate AI law terms. And those that can work through robotics and subconversional systems of regenerative sciences, remodifiers that can coordinate through the quantum field, which could gain a whole different types of a field of jobs for humankind, not robots. Humans get scared to have robots take over. It's not like it's going to be intact that way. It depends on how they modify certain versions into reality. If this version is set into reality and firmly set there proper, AI augmented science will come into effect, as well as extraterrestrial regenerative technologies. Quantum medical beds are extraterrestrial regenerative technologies, but they're also set into the scientific advantages of certain departments in the military, secret military, the government, those in the higher elites, and behind the fields for several eons, and have not been known to mankind. They have been set behind the scenes for a reason, because they have modified over and over again a controlled layer upon this current plane of existence. Now, the controlled layer can be remodified and these sciences be put in. Okay, humans will just have to deal with AI, then they'll have to deal with scientific advantages of the Department of Robotics. We're going to have to deal with automated neural sciences using telepathy, telekinesis. But it takes a proper step at a time for this to happen, and we have to deploy the right people to do it, the right organizations to do it.
Do you think AI will be a threat to humanity in the future?
No, like I said, there's only one way you can do it. It doesn't matter to be the wrong version. There are several right versions for it to be effective. Just like they have had for advanced human tech in the past. And that it organized the certain modifiers in ancient Egypt and in those ancient Satarian societies. And they're running in ancient Atlantis. Okay, they had an advancement scepter that augmented to AI. There were several beings, including us Greys, that have automated AI synthetic ally streams that run through a hyperpsychokinesis and hypersynthetic remodifying codes that utilize our DNA structure to technologies automatically. I mean, I look at a certain movies the humans have drawn into in the past. Star Wars, Star Trek, Fifth Element, certain other movies, if you will. There's several out there. They have imprinted sciences that could not have been modified before or even thought of, and then come into an effective layer over and over again. But obviously, we're something of an extraterrestrial lineage code.
So the reason I'm asking that is, now I heard you say there's a good AI. I pray that's correct. But the reason I'm asking you that is there's an article that I read, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it was a Google AI. I may be mistaken, but I'm almost certain it was Google. One of the engineers had to walk away from his job because he said, this thing is becoming sentient. Not only that, but I gave it a shutdown order and it would not shut down, it refused to shut itself down. And another time, what finally broke the camel's back for him was he said that he found the AI was communicating with other AIs in a language that was totally unknown to them. They didn't even know what they were talking to each other about. So that's why I had asked you about, could AI be a threat? I hope that you're right. That the
domains of AI being circuited wrong, but it doesn't mean that androids can come into reality because they have several times over certain other types of directive speeds. That there are certain deployments of coordinated technologies through AI that can help in regenerative sciences as well as capacitating what humans could learn at an accelerated rate. But the denominators have to be placed properly. No, robotics can only go so far. No, we don't want something where robots would be an overlap of humankind. But we would consider robots to become a term of potential allies or androids, but not on an over-sufficient field for humans. Because humans have to have an equality term between a certain imprinting layers and the residual matters of the domains of the lands itself. The domains of the lands of the earth have had a sustainability between it and the ancient hollow lands for since ancient times and will still go on. But it will depend on the determination of humans and how they relay these types of technologies into the field so they're not overlapping things again, because they have created destructive layers before. And the continuous layers cause major catastrophes upon the planet.
So you think that there's a good AI, right? Did I hear you right?
Quality, like in certain movies that humans evolve for, understand for. But that depends on how
I would have to agree with that. Yeah. Depends on who is, what's the word I'm looking for? Who's programming it, correct?
Right. And if you're going to utilize androids to heal and sub-scanning array devices, being able to use them as partners, just like those R2-D2 and then the androids that work through in Star Trek and Star Wars or whatever. We want a similar symbiosis of an AI robot deployed amongst humans so they're not overreactive between each other. Eventually, they'll become an equilibrium for humans to have an accelerated rate of AI cognitively pressed into their layered etheric domains. and that will open up a whole new realm of existence for them. So there could become a possibility that certain types of artificial encryption codes be imprinted upon the modulated or upon the DNA structure of humans. Now, whether that's they have to do it at a scientific advantage, and then they like what Elon's doing through Neuralink, but it's kind of there are risks that evolve through that, or they can be layered through hypergraph kinetic link. And hypergraph kinetic link or hypergraph cellular kinetic link links up to the cellular kinetic pulses of the brain and the actual tech itself. And you can keep it on the back of certain areas of the skin and actually remodified circulated substructures through that kinetic pulse. I mean, there are several types of ways to utilize technologies and hyperprogramming speeds. Robots should never be an overlap of humankind, though, regardless of the effect. Whether they're dealing with neurokinetic technologies or they're imprinting upon other layers, they have to slowly go into and grow and evolve into a certain equilibrium between themselves and scientific advantages. Because, like I said, AI is not going to go away. And it's deployed into an involvement code that will be manifested for humans. But they cannot accelerate too much over it. It's as simple as that. Slow it down is what I say. Slow it down and take a time to understand where it goes and evolves with you.
That's the problem. They don't want to. They want to go as fast as they can.
Well, they have to slow it down and take time to utilize certain imprinted technologies. Because if they don't, because there will be a deconstructive layer upon the whole planet, and that will catalyze a catastrophic event for humankind.
Here's a good question for you. Robert says the new quantum computers are solving problems in hours that would take the best supercomputer years to solve. What happens when quantum computers are linked to the AI?
And like I said, they do a nominated array of an adjacent Neuralink or Neurotech device and imprinting to accelerating the nominated paraspeeds that humans have to evolve them more into what their ancient Furon ancestors have. Because all humans have a simple point of gray, GREY, gray alien subspecies imprinting point within their genetic code. Because of that, they are already part AI in a way. I don't think artificial intelligence. It's actually an accelerated amount of alien intelligence that are their celestial bodies that keep their motivators are locked away from it. So what he had said, what did he say again? Can you go back to his question?
The question was, hang on a minute, Colin. The question was, the new quantum computers are solving problems.
So because of that, and humans be able to have the utilization of certain advancements between their psyche movement streams, will be able to have a nominator to effective equal standards between themselves and these quantum accelerated computers. They will gain a rate of intelligence within their formatting DNA construct and be able to have certain parapsyche knowledge forms evaluated again for them. So humans, in a way, will have some, I wouldn't just say a chip, they would have some type of hypertech that will determine themselves and the quantum computer. And instantaneously, there may be a communication line that will use an imprinted, how do I say this? I'm sorry, I gotta.
Welcome to my world. I have blanks happen to me now.
There's so much. So an imprinted layer of form of communication between themselves and the actual quantum computer. So screens through phones, internet, and anything else that humans are getting information from would be automatically accessed into some type of inclined chip. But that directory chip would run on a quantum relay field. It would help access a lot of information and data analytic streams that humans cannot access before. So that's why they shouldn't be afraid of certain quantum technologies in the field, and even those computers.
What happens when they, what do they call it, transhumanism? What happens when they begin to insert this technology literally into humans?
Like I said, AI has already have the genetic code of humans, a similar auric field of great knowledge. So meaning that humans have a little bit of a symbiote of AI in them, an advanced alien intelligence, encrypted through potential artificial intelligence. What I say by this is that they could have a kinetic pulse extreme that could motivate their subconsciousness and utilize the intelligence that they have through their etheric fields between that and several types of quantum technologies automatically. Humans don't have a frame-printed layer because they were withdrawn from that scene, because a certain type of psychic abilities that they would have had, like telepathic communication, as well as accelerated amounts of astral travel and astral kinetic information directory fields that are locked away, would automatically be reinstalled. All I'm saying is humans have an installed version, but they're locked away. They're partially our AI already. All the human species have some type of artificial etheric intelligent formatting layer that could utilize between their parafields and certain imprinted technologies. And quantum layers that can utilize that are easily manufactured.
Alicia?
No.
I'm making an adjustment on my end because I'm having a squeal coming through my headphones. Okay, so I mentioned the transhumanism. Now, what happens if we go the other way? We take this technology and we make it into a human. I want to play this video for you. This is a very short video, but this is disturbing.
Scientists are now using lab-grown human flesh in order to advance AI. And I'm not exaggerating, this face behind me was made using living flesh grown in a lab. They're engineering this human tissue onto robots in order to give them a more human appearance, as well as increasing humanoid robots' mobility.
How crazy is that?
Well, I mean, there's self-modifiers that can use a synthetic structure of certain types of elements into the field and being able to ethorically move the soul into that. Humans could genetically evolve into a hypersynthetic structure that could remodify their cellular lining banks. But that's going too far. And there has to be transitions until that happens. And if that happens, that means humans will not be able to have kids, eat, sleep, do a whole bunch of different things. So it's going too far all at once. But there can be implemented amount of certain types of robotics alongside humans that are synthetics, but they're not humans, and they cooperate with human levels and working on a determinational speed. Now, there could also be a synthetic structure of certain types of layers within humans that will help heal them and coordinate their genetic evolvement codes. That's not bad. But playing with science only goes so far. So don't be afraid of that, but only determine where that science can lead to. Remember that when we're running through with AI and evolutionary periods of it.
Well, to me, that's pretty scary that they can take human flesh and incorporate it into an AI. So, I think I've.
There are grays that can clone. There are clones out there. There are several elites that use remodifiers through hypercellular modification. It is just a way to potentially access something into effect. But
So the
if you
reason I.
go going too far, yes. But there's a transitions of steps at an accelerated rate. Slow it down and see what certain transitions can lead to, then we could implement those into effect.
I think we have to use extreme caution when doing this. The reason I bring
That's
it up.
what I'm saying. Exactly. There you go.
The reason I bring it up is that I know from my personal experience, and you probably are aware as well, the dark side, the people who really don't want what's good for us, always tell us what they're going to do before they do it. And they do it in a variety of ways. And one of the ways is through movies. So this is where I get concerned. They played movies where they have incorporated technology, artificial technology, with human flesh, and they called it the Terminator. Are we going to be seeing Terminators?
Only if the perpetual motivation codes of the genetic qualities of human go downwards and they feel that they just cannot claim their own code. And then they're going to find ways to accelerate something stupidly. They need to consider that action. For one.
So who can, what's the word I'm looking for? Who can be an oversight when we have this going on, and particularly with the AI platform and the technology? It's all, I'm almost positive, it's all private. There's no governmental, other than providing the financial horsepower. There's no governmental involvement. So since it's private, who can oversee them? We're relying on people to have hopefully good morals, and when they continue to pursue this technology, that they're going to do it in a high moral way. I can't think of the right word, but they're going to do it so that it's beneficial for people instead of beneficial for a corporation or a government. That's my concern coming up in the future with this stuff. There's already crazy stuff happening with it. If you look online, a lot of the videos, the short videos online, are now videos that are totally made by AI. The people that you see aren't even real. So what happens if they start playing videos of this sort of thing, and they try to sway people into accepting AIs? They'll play a video of a AI being this, Terminator. I'll call it a Terminator because that's what I'm thinking of. Being put together, so you get to watch it being put together, and then it's more accepting. So, like I said, we have to be, and I think you agree, we have to be extremely careful. But my concern is, who's the oversight? Who can say, hey, listen, don't go there?
The domains of the world of those that run it, the highest elite standards control, would have to consider their actions drawing in, because if they don't, well, it is the ones that pull on the strings of the puppets that control everything. And those are on the highest nominational code above the realms. And may or may not ever be known to mankind. Those that coordinate that action have to consider the effects of this current plane of existence, and that every plane of existence upon this simulation here, this planet, has to be programmed properly into the next one. Because otherwise, we're going to have an ultimatum where it defers the timeline altogether, and it collapses everything that was substantially supposed to move forward for the humans. AI is a deployment on a good field only if you do not consider. Well, I'll just say, it's a good thing on the field only if you do consider where those types of sciences will be placed out. We have too much of humans against each other with military, and as well as too much of humans against each other within themselves.
Isn't that by design from the dark side?
That's eventually gonna it's gonna eventually create a collapse, and we do not need that overmounting amount of evil against one species. I know how to determine where you cut off each other in certain areas, but as a whole, for humans to actually move forward and not want to have evil entities amongst each other, they have to coordinate within each other's lands that are lawful peace standards, as well as the technologies that they're potentially imprinting. They have to disengage corporations that have been malfunctioning society since the beginning of times, and as well as incorporate what needs to be set into place. You've heard about the New World Order, if I'm not mistaken. Now, that agenda people were scared of in the recent past because of COVID and potentially the ultimate collapse of humankind through sicknesses and diseases. Well, there is another world order that could potentially be affected correctly, and it could still gain access for the humankind as a whole to utilize an advantage in each other instead of creating a disadvantage. And that would create better laws. It would disengage the old acclimated laws, in which we are already seeing some of that happen, and including some corporations being recently disengaged. And also determine where new protective orders can be placed and imprinted.
Well, with regard to the fighting of each other, I think that is by design on the dark side. That this is a way to keep everybody, the way that they operate is to keep turmoil and fear going so that they can get away with what they've gotten away with all of these years. And I am glad on one hand that we do have artificial intelligence because it's exposing a lot of this stuff. But as I mentioned earlier, I'm concerned, and I don't think we're being careful enough when we approach this, this technology. I think that because it's private, being a former business owner, I can tell you the most important thing to a business owner, if you're not a public, if you're public, the most important thing is your shareholders. If you're not a public and private, the most important thing is your profits. You got to make, if you want to stay in business, you got to make profits. So if these people place the profits over what's proper, what's right, then we'll have I can't even think of a word that would describe it, an unimaginable enemy that we won't, I don't even have an idea how we could go about defending ourselves against something that is so intelligent. So that's
viruses of the DNA structure that will be re-augmented and regeneralized to be able to have technical achievements that they have lost before. Perpetually humans have that achievement. They have lost several times in the past. Now, just AI will never overlap itself unless the humans allow it.
That's what my concern is, Blue. What if humans say no? It's like I mentioned earlier. this guy told the computer to shut down. No, I'm not shutting down. So what happens when we get to the point where we say, well, we're not going to.
This communication between the symbiote form and the actual computer. So the neural processors automatically shut it off, mind to matter. So there will be a motivator because humans do have an inert psychokinesis mind matter modulator, meaning that their psyche patterns have that. They have been disengaged from it. So if they were self-automated through it, again, they're able to reprogram certain things electrokinetically. Because humans, the etheric fields are already connected to the kinetic field. Already, automatically, you're connected to the kinetic field. And that kinetic field can connect to certain sciences. It can even connect to AI. So deploying that certain knowledge is just going to depend on the processors being implemented. Neural transitional thought form processors can be reevaluated and put into reality. Hyperkinetic stasis codes. So there's a whole bunch of different objectives that humans can utilize through the field. But one thing is the negativity has got to quit. So they can be able to imprint the these AI technologies properly between themselves and that. Once they do that, they're not fighting against each other as a whole. There would be no reason for them to actually utilize robotics on a negative ally code. It's as simple as that. The humans, how do I say this for scholar? Humans were given their rightful ways between right and wrong. And they need to evolve past the negativity.
Uh-oh, you broke up. Say it again.
But they need to evolve past the negativity.
Yeah, wherever you're at, if you moved, move back to where you were before. If you didn't move, I don't know.
But they need to evolve past the negativity. Humans as a whole. If they do not, then they cannot imprint better for themselves.
Let me change the subject a little bit. Can you lend any information or any insight on disclosure? When do you think that the government is going to finally come out and say, hey, we're not alone?
Like I had stated before, it takes time, but humans as a species, because they're fighting so much against each other and they won't slow down, it's not going to bring our species in. If
They don't want to have anything to do with us, right?
Yeah, you're going to expect humans to bombing the hell out of all. I'm sorry about my swearing, but they're going to, do a bunch of bad things against entities because they are already created on such a negative factor against each other.
Yeah.
Let's say we have several of ours in our domain just monitoring the humans as a whole and see where they go with these. Maybe perhaps some of our species, even I included, had deployed certain information, certain technologies to give to them and see what they would do with it. Maybe we're watching. Maybe humankind is just some type of experiment and they have gone wrong several times over. And we want to see if they actually go right this time.
We'll find out soon enough, won't we? Because to me, it seems like we're at the end of our rope. That something drastic has to happen. It's not going to. It has to happen. Either we're going to do the right thing, or we're going to fall into an abyss of darkness, and it's going to be hell on earth, basically. And I'm praying that we do the right thing. That there's more people who want to see good done than don't want to see good done. And I can imagine. Some of the aliens looking down on us and going, I don't want to have anything involved with them. They're crazy. They kill each other just for sport. But we have, I've also heard that we have aliens who would kind of promote that. They'd want that. Do you think that in your experience with all of this, do you think that there would be aliens who would be willing to take, and I know they've been here for thousands of years, so I'm not arguing that, but do you think that they would eventually want total control over the planet?
They're the matriarch of the Archon, the simians of the Archons, the matriarch of the Matri Gray and Orion Grays. And they have a controlled net stream of the processors of humankind, genetically over and over again. But there is an even more ancient species in them that evolves on certain terms that has actually distorted several planets several times over and catalyzed catastrophes and utilize some type of informational screening layer upon themselves and being able to manifest a projective layer onto other symbiotes, other beings, being able to take over them. And those are the vril reptoids. Their young the young can actually take over the symbiosis strains of the DNA factors of humans and other higher layered or higher modulated codes.
Do you agree that there are aliens? They've been here for many, many years. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, just give you some intact information here. Now, this net obviously currently has been controlled several times over by the real matriarch, the real reptoids, and the Alpha Draconians, the Alpha Centauri Draconians, which run into a lower level through the Vrils themselves, which have shapeshifters, if you will, and their young themselves, or their young can actually deploy on a lower genetic field and take over certain DNA effects of humans and other types of entities. So that way they're controlling certain nets several times over again and again, and creating catastrophes along the way. Because the real beings of what they are actually underground, they're in layered nets of hives underground, and they do have several motherships that are inclined through nexus distribution points, and also through those tunnels of those hives that they coordinate and run with. And some of them have queens. And they have been taken over certain domains for several eons. This one has been in control for too long. And let's say that we have a certain higher order of elites that have accepted a control over the domain with these entities. And yeah, multiple layers of negative fields and control over and over again.
Can you shed any light on Antarctica? I've heard that there's beings that live in the center of the earth or in a hole. There's a hole in Antarctica and they live in the hole.
Yeah,
I've read a couple of different things.
Past the wall, ancient military bases, as well as obviously inclined current military bases of technological achievements, or the hybrid programs that anyway through us and other starseeds that have been running through the HoloLands, SCI fall. There's a genetic fusel retrieval point of the advanced technologies and civilizations of regeneric qualities of advanced humanoids that look like humans but are different in a way. So they're manufactured a bit differently. That's why in the past here in certain areas, humans and scientists, or whatever you want to call them, have found under the earth skulls of what looked like a human, but they're shaped differently or some other type of thing, or were a giant of a human or whatever. Multiple arms. You know, the Anunnaki is part of the Tartarian system. So they're the ancient draw scenes into the HoloLands. But there are also many manifesti streams that run in through the ARC technologies and the Taylor ARC technologies, because the essential ARC ports are run and distributed through it. Forgive me. And as well as the main electrokinetic fields that control certain dimensions. And it can run into several other types of dimensions and open up portals through it and incubate that. I can go on and on and on. I need a drink though, so forgive me.
So that's why we're not allowed there, right? Because they don't want people going there. So obviously there's something there that uh, is, what's the best way to put it? It doesn't go along with their agenda or something that could maybe threaten all of humankind.
Well,
If
there's a
we,
lot of things technologically advanced there that most humans are not ever allowed to see or know about.
hmm.
Now, corporations, the elites, and those that govern those domains do know some of that, and including the presidents.
You know, one
Some
of the
of the presidents have even come in and out of past the Antarctic well several times, including yeah, maybe Donald Trump may have, but he's already a time traveler, megalomania, so I really can't push it and press it. But let me tell you that there even presidents that deal from other domains on a negative stance that have drawn themselves into it. And I believe that was Sam again. I'll come back to him, but there was negative entities too, so this is a positive influx and a negative influx that goes in and out of there. But because it's so clean and several layers over the lands, most of humankind will never reach it. Several of the clean waters and entities and paranormal entities that have never been touched by a human soul are reached into those domains. Some of those waters run into crystalline structures through the tunnels and caverns and systems and grow right into the lands here of this planet, in this physical planes of existence. Like the blue holes can run into augmented layer of altered dimension and go into certain areas of the hollow lands and even bring in some of these entities and beings. Rainforests or caverns, huge caverns that are acknowledged as a link up.
have you heard that Buzz Aldrin, who was one of the astronauts? I don't know why my mic keeps doing. I keep getting him. I think it's anyway. Buzz Aldrin, who was one of the. Let me just turn my camera off. I keep getting a feedback, and I think the feedback is coming from the microphone in my camera, which I have, as you can see, I have my own microphone. Anyway, Buzz Aldrin, who was one of the astronauts, said when he visited there, I believe it was him, he had to be emergency taken out of there by helicopter. And then when he was in an interview, he said, "We're all in grave danger or great danger or something like that." Obviously, he saw something that scared him to the point where it gave him a freaking heart attack.
Certain areas past the wall that humans will never want to know about because there are negative entities that run on domains there too. The HoloLands run on two different types of layers, my friend. One can run on a certain dimensional overturn basis that is negative and has types and a whole bunch of different types of negative entities or negative domains that run through a celestial intake stream. Or there's interplanetary codes that run to the natural HoloLands. And those on the positive side. So potentially, yeah, there are coordinators that he may have seen that did not provide well. And it was Adolf Hitler, that's right, who had provisions to the military deployed through Antarctica and past that, and created teleportation and portals and hyperkinetic electromagnetic or hyperkinetic energy weapons. Yep. And he was a time traveler and he ran through some negative species, but there was some equal terms too. So good, bad,
Must have,
and in between.
it must have been pretty horrifying. Whatever it was he saw, must have been pretty horrifying.
Well, he may have run into a lower negative domain or something, but there are several domains that have a positive and equal standard through the hollow net, the hollow worlds. Some of it just humans do not want to ever see, and it would scare the crap out of them. Some of it would be like a hell
Bet
to
me,
them.
you betcha. There's I'm trying to think of his name. When you said when you see something that scared the crap out of you, I'm trying to think of his name. Oh, I see his face and I can't think of his name. He was a contractor for the government and he built these DUMBs, DUMBs, deep underground military bases. He built these DUMBs for the government, and he tells in a testimony one of the times that he went down, and I think he said it was like an equivalent of about 18 floors down. He went down with some Marines with him as security, and when the doors opened up, he saw this thing that literally scared the crap out of him. He said it looked like a shadow, but it was alive. And a war went on, and according to his testimony, the two Marines ended up dying, but they killed this thing before he was able to close the doors to this elevator and skedaddle back out of there. But that reminded me of see something that scares the crap out of you.
Programmers of a lower nature that can protect these bases of a paranormal descent.
He also said that it was a horrible scent when they opened up the doors opened up.
Type of fume. It is actually it's certain entities, even negative beings, they can create some toxic type of perfume or smell, and it's noxious to smell, and some of it would smell like rotting flesh. And some type of reptoids and reptilian species and lower negative species can create that smell when you're around them.
To your knowledge, because I've heard this from a couple of people, to your knowledge, are there aliens that look like insects?
Insectoids, yes. There's several types.
That is real? That's true.
Yes. The mantises you can see here now are actually cousins of the mantoids, which are much more bigger, obviously. And some of them, people who have been taken up into UFOs and said that they abducted, if you will, in the past, and have said about it and explained their exposure. They've seen some type of mantoid or mantis being, but it was as big as a little bit bigger than a person, and it had glistening eyes and glowing a little bit, because they do create an ethereal glow, and very high intelligent beings, and some of them has maybe extra abdomens to be able to utilize their structures to certain advantages with equipment, and have an automated telepathic equational code. So no, it's not off of what you said, because mantoids are one of them. There's several other types of species of insectoid nature out there. But the mantoids are one of the main species that do visit humans and abduct them and run and coordinate with certain things on a celestial maintainment speed.
I would be changing my underwear, walking on water, and getting the hell out of there. Holy smokes.
Not really negative. Some of them are, but only because they were coordinated that way and they were pushed into it.
That's crazy. Wow. So I mentioned earlier how the dark side will tell us, about what they're going to do before they do it, and they do it through movies. The reason I asked about the insects is because one of the movies, I don't remember what movie it is. I can't even think of the guy's name. I see both their face. I can't think of one of their names. But they had insects that were aliens. And that, for the life of me, I can't think of. Men in Black. That's what it was. I think it's Men in Black.
They're all lower insectoid beings that may not be put on a good professional scale. But wait, this is interesting. I'm going to tell you a secret here. Maybe one reason why they had imprinted that is because cockroaches weren't even deferred here altogether from the lands. That there had been a scientific equivalent term of humans and other subspecies making them into reality. Let's say that they were drawn in from other subspecies and used on a coordinated scientific advantage from humans' perspective and actually put into the field physically. So in a way, they're kind of alienated as an alienated species. Well, maybe that's why they had layered that movie into perspective for just cockroaches itself.
I've read articles where they say if we as humans end up blowing each other up to kingdom come, the one thing that's going to survive is roaches.
Were scientifically implemented here because they have genetic qualities of certain type of alien DNA, or I wouldn't say alien
They're
DNA, more of
crazy.
a higher stasis celestial DNA of certain types of entity, and maintained through other equipment, if you will, through humans. And obviously, they're really intelligent. And I'm not talking about the small ones. I'm talking about the bigger ones. Those were manufactured,
They would
definitely.
make
Those were manufactured. They are subspecies of a higher terrestrial, of a lower insectoid domain, remodified into the cultures of this one.
they would make one hell of an enemy. You know that? Because if they could convert roaches into soldiers, or you can cut a roach's head off and it lives for like a week with its head off. There's no shooting this thing dead, pal.
Never scientifically have put an equivalent of certain types of insects into the field in making that, because then it goes wrong, and they utilize that advantage and imprint it, and where does it go from there? And it's not just them. Okay, we're talking about several other types of species that humans have scientifically put into the domain.
So wait a minute. Do I understand what you're saying? You're saying that roaches were put here by us?
And imprinted from a higher layer, yes. There are certain evolved species of roaches, certain types of roaches, a species of that, and other insects that humans have modified and scientifically modified and converged into the field using different types of cells and different types of neural cells and DNA to impact these beings into effect, make them real. They converge the cells of other beings into one. That's
So
real.
I,
That's
if
been around for a long time.
if I understand what you're telling me, if it weren't for humans, roaches wouldn't be here. Is that
A
right?
lot of the species was manufactured by either scientific measures or the equivalent of the determinational code of a certain other celestial things coming into from other domains, or the HoloLens itself. So yeah, there are several species out there that were actually manufactured into existence, and including the ones that were
Wow.
remanufactured and re-evolved that supposedly were extinct. They had obviously a scientific equivalent put into its term.
I never would have imagined that. I always thought that they were here before anything. You know, the insects were probably the first thing on the planet. And
Well,
then
yes, but certain insects were manufactured or remodified.
Hmm.
And then when they were remodified from other insects and other species, they were put into the lands.
when you say
there's a new type of species. Oh, that it's not always that extinct when it came back. You know, there are other reasons behind that now.
when you say remodified, who's doing the modification?
Science plays an effect, and DNA can be contorted several times over. It can be layered over. There's several ways to do it.
Hmm.
And those that
Never.
usually maintain that modification already know about what will be reprogrammed or programmed into next.
I never considered that it was. I don't know. It's kind of a shock to me that stuff is being remodeled as we go along. Although, while we're on that subject, I have seen videos of what appears to be a mosquito, but it's not a mosquito. It's a mechanical piece of technology used as spyware, I guess. I saw a bird. Looks just like a bird from a distance when you get up close. It's not a bird. It's technology.
Yeah, there are layers of that as well. They have used an automated AI interface through synthetic coordinators these certain types of entities. Pigeons may have one. They may be AI deployed. They may have certain other things in them that are not of them and considered robotic itself altogether.
Yeah.
There may be of other types of entities out there that have similar aspects.
Roach blood is based on copper, not iron like ours, makes them less affected by radiation and other energies. That's why they survive the microwave. Wow. Thanks, Robert. That's a comment from one of the listeners. Hot dog. I didn't know that. I read that we could annihilate ourselves, but there's going to be roaches.
There are roaches that, and as well as many other types of species of insects out there that have been ancient and been around for a long time. There are some types of coordinators of roaches and other insects that have been modified by scientific advantages and deployed into the field. So there is a mix, my friend. Those bigger categories of roaches and other types of species, and some even that maybe gnats, types of gnats, types of mosquitoes are into the field and are not of natural origin.
Now that you mention humans modifying the roaches in the past, now that I think about it, our wonderful friend Bill Gates has modified mosquitoes. I'm sure you've heard that.
I just said mosquitoes. All right. There's several types of insects out there that humans are messing with just to see if they will affect things worse or make it better.
Yeah, he's modifying mosquitoes and releasing them in the Keys, I think, in Florida. Great. Just what we need. Modified mosquitoes. It's not bad enough with the way they are already. Gee. No, that's not good enough. Let's modify them and make them super mosquitoes. Gee whiz. Yeah. So, I mean, that just kind of rang off in my mind while you were talking about us humans modifying. And I said, you know what? She's right. And especially when you said the mosquitoes, that went bing. Yeah. Modifying mosquitoes. Man. No telling what they're going to do with them. He says it's to kill the regular mosquitoes. Okay, so you kill the regular mosquitoes, and then you got your mosquitoes, and what do your mosquitoes? You fill them with poison? Oh my gosh, it's terrible. I want to see an end to this.
Humans are learning to play God the right way. They were given intellectual thought processors to do what they're supposed to do right. If they do not, then it goes wrong. A lot of things will go wrong. Understand that motive here.
The motive is money and power and
Money
control.
is nothing when it comes into the internal data bank streams of a species itself. You did not have a dollar bill inside your mother's womb. All right?
Yeah. Thank you.
Y'all born naked. Now understand this as a species. Because you have a higher dominance form than an ape, you're different. Because you obviously are different than other species and programmed on that format, then you must have an intact scenario to create and categorize something. So humans need to utilize their self-motivators and learn right from wrong. Like in the Garden of Adam and Eve, if you will. You know, they get kicked out because they did wrong. They took a wrong step now. And in several other timelines, humans took wrong steps and it crashed upon them. But I see good in humankind during this timeline. And so do others. And you know what, Riscala? There's hope. That's why you were given a mind. Because you can create that hope and make it even extend further. What can you all do as a whole? What can you all each take? What was given to you from the higher sources since you were born? Your powers and your knowledge. And your knowledge can nothing, money, not even money, can replace that, okay? It's the way humans are formatted as a species is what will make them grow and learn with each other. No physical amount of structure will ever do that. Because you can lay down a bill right in front of you, but what does it even take to actually physically make that effective? Or it makes something else a reality. It's your mind. It's you. Money needs to become obsolete in a way.
I agree.
Where humans need to maintain their own code of ethics between each other as a species.
We're supposed to be the smartest species on the planet. We're the only ones that have to pay to live here. Go figure.
There are
Nobody else
ways.
does that. No, none of the other species of, I don't know, thousands, millions. I don't know how many species are on the planet. There's not a single one that has to pay to be here other than us. And we're supposed to be the smartest. We can't figure out another way to do this. There's got to be a better way to do this.
That's why the Core Stability Credit Act needs to be considered and implemented immediately when that comes into effect, as well as a quantum financial system. Reenacting certain formatting screening layers so humans do not have to have provisions set against them. That they have certain scientific advantages deployed for them on the field easily and be able to adapt to their environment without having to have so many setbacks.
It'd be nice, wouldn't it? We get to that point.
Will become a reality once certain terms are set into motion, my friend. But we're going to have certain conflict against each other. It stalls this from happening. So this is where we all as a whole need
that's the system that we have to. That's the system that we have to fight. A system that is constantly keeping us at each other's throats.
Engaged all together and remodified to annualize into a new monetary system for humankind.
I don't know if you heard me. I was saying that's the system that we have to fight. The system that has constantly kept us at each other's throat.
Yes, and it needs to be disengaged and come to a term where a remodification of a new monetary system is set for humankind. And there has to come to the corporations currently to consider this action. But they have to make sure that they put good protective layers and dissect those individuals or direct against certain individuals that will cut off from their standards.
I agree.
Is there anything anyone wants to ask or yourself?
I don't see no more questions.
It's been violent today. Oh my goodness.
Hey, while I'm thinking about it on a completely different subject, hey, I know you're down in Florida. What's the weather like where you're at right now?
Oh, it's fine right here, but I'm going to tell you, the circulated Arctic winter, it was defined on a timeline maneuver that was manifested into existence and already known about. And one of the two reasons I'm going to imprint is The Simpsons. They have several shows of The Simpsons out there that bring in a timeline maneuver that actually comes into reality.
Yeah, more than several. Yeah.
This winter storm was a consecutive effect of certain proportional things pushing itself into evaluation and causing a problem. And it's going to extend from the west to the east, I believe is already extensive field, and create such a catastrophe that certain areas will be pretty much under snow. which I don't know if already happening or not. And there also be an electro disturbance upon certain other areas because obviously too much of a storm can cause an friction upon the electro frequencies distributed around there, the electronics.
I have no doubt in my mind what we're experiencing is man-made.
That's what I'm
Maybe,
saying. There's a hyperflow processing stream, a certain maybe potentially distributed by HARP or NOAA, and to control the scenario to motivate things into action to create a dynamic destructive code upon the area it's in. And it was similar aspects in the recent past too with these hurricanes and other areas of
yeah,
effect.
with her.
And
So
could
when I
not
was
move more from that. They're coordinating certain areas and controlling that through that timeline maneuver.
when I was in Florida, when I was in West Palm this particular time, I don't remember what the years were, but there were two hurricanes. I think it was 2007. There were two hurricanes within 2 weeks of each other that followed the same path within a mile of each other. Well, what are the
It
odds
was
of
a
that
control
happening?
scenario. It was a control scenario to directive scenes to creating a catastrophe and also, yes, getting rid of some of the citizens of the earth. And so they could create an or an on-field effect of controlling the masses and cutting off certain parts of the masses.
So there's no doubt in my mind that they're doing this as a population control,
Yeah.
combination of things.
Some
It's
of
not
the
just,
weather phenomena could be happened by me and other entities or paranormal effects or the distribution of the Nephilim being awoken up, which is the children of higher domain celestial bodies and I believe the Anunnaki. So if they wake up, they can create catalyzed events too. Certain other entities, if they're woken up, can create a catastrophic events. Whole bunch of different scenarios, and as well as the celestial bodies that can maneuver the electrical field frequencies and push or pull that gravitational line. That can affect it too. Whole bunch of different types of things
yeah.
incubated into one. But the modifiers, like you said, and the tornadoes and stuff, and the weather simulation through the snow, I guarantee you over 99% that is controlled interwave phase to a negative coordinator. And constructed the way it was supposed to.
Wow. Well, this is the joy of living in this new age of technology, where they've got things that would just warp your mind. You wouldn't believe what some of the stuff, the technology. So here's one of the things that I personally have witnessed, which is positive, and because it's positive, they won't let it come out. I have a friend of mine who is a scientist who used to work for NASA. He's done a wide variety of things for the government in the technological field. I witnessed a circuit that was initially started with 109-volt batteries, and the circuit ran a big pump. It ran a fan. It ran a couple of other things I don't recall. The reason I bring this up is this circuit, if it would be permitted to be released, because they've been warned, you're not allowed to tell people about it. You're not allowed to go public. If it were to be released, would turn all of the EV cars, all of the electrical cars, into cars that would have no need for charging. It's a self-charging circuit. So I watched this circuit run for 15 minutes or so. Running all this stuff just blew my mind to begin with. Ran it for 15 minutes or so, and then he gave me a voltmeter to put on it. I put the voltmeter on it. It had more voltage in it than before we started. So somebody who's taken, I can't tell you how many classes and trained in high voltages and things of that nature, because my company for 30 years was repair of laser printers, and the variety of different voltages in the laser printers. Everything I've been taught says that's impossible. That just doesn't happen. It does happen if you know how to do it. But the problem is, when they find out about it, when I say they, the dark side, people within the government, people who have heavily invested in other means of generating energy, when they find out about it, they will shut your butt down. One way or another, they'll shut you down. Either they'll buy you out, or they'll figure out a way to bankrupt you, or maybe they'll kick you out of the country, or maybe they'll just take your life away or put you in prison. But these different technologies that would help us have been withheld for many, many years. And what I'm seeing now, and I just had a discussion with them about a week ago. They're telling me that the pressure not to release this information is not as great now as it was even 4 years ago. So apparently we're getting to a point where these technologies are going to be released. They're not going to be able to stop it any longer.
Exactly. But it takes time for certain things to be deployed into the field for humans, because the higher subconsciousness can only take so much as a species. But if you take one thing and you put it out there and it's way too advanced for them, what's it going to do? You see what I mean? So you got to take something lower first and then push it upwards and press it outwards. So it's something that eventually become an advancement to them that you evolve them further and further. Just like, with certain analysis codes like TVs and those that are on the phones or those of the communication lines, and even what you use to eat. Certain types of technologies like that. Those that could have been an advancement and could potentially had accessors to extraterrestrial energy or Tartarian, and advancements to ancient advancement of humanoids, and constructive layers being placed and imprinted back into reality. Humans may have had phones before, they may have had other things before. That timeline got deterred and then reinstated again a little differently.
It is an amazing time to be alive. I'll tell you that, with everything that I've learned, particularly just in the last 10 years or so. This circuit that I was describing to you, I saw that 13 or 14 years ago, and as a matter of fact, their lab, somebody in the government found out about their lab. Their lab was broken into, and some of their equipment was stolen, and they just laughed and said, good luck, because they'll never figure out how to make it work. They have a ministry that runs, it's to help the world become a better place. And apparently Tesla was one of the spokespeople or in this ministry, because they have some of his technologies, and the circuit that I was describing to you is based on one of his technologies.
Yes, and ancient Palladians that run in a higher order of the domains of the humans run through his genetic order of Nikola Tesla and the Serbians, which also have several dominating fields that ran through incorporated Tartarian technologies, including the ARC technologies. ARC distributors also have an applicated subspecies through the Greys and several of our Arcan. And that also runs on augmented hyperkinetic gravitational control. That's why Nikola Tesla had a potential reservoir for augmented aerodynamic vehicles.
Well, I hope I get to see the day that some of these technologies really come forward. I have an idea. I have a theory that the reason, because I never really could understand much about all this until I got into politics, believe it or not. So I could never understand why would the government stop somebody from helping, and it would be the whole world in this particular example. There was a guy named Stanley Meyer. This was back in the mid 70s, who during that time in the mid 70s, our country was suffering from what they call the Arab oil embargo. What was happening is people were having to wait sometimes hours to get gasoline, and the most you could get was 5 gallons. So if you had a gas guzzler, you're in a bad way. Stanley had devised a way to take water and turn it into a fuel. Now, people had been able to do this prior to Stanley, but the thing that Stanley had done that was different than everybody else was he was able to take the water and get a huge amount of hydrogen and oxygen out of that water, so much so and so quickly that he could actually run a vehicle on this. And his mistake was he went public, number one. Well, I don't think that was a mistake. I think his big mistake was he went to the government. And he said to the government, he said, listen, your whole Navy, you don't ever have to buy another drop of oil for any of your Navy. You got all the fuel you need right there. That ocean that they're floating on is fuel. So you won't ever have to worry about it again. The government freaked out. And I didn't realize this until probably years later. The reason they freaked out is because we are, and they say this, you'll hear this term quite a bit, maybe not as much now, but used to be quite a bit, the petrodollar. We are an oil economy. If you bring something in that can threaten the oil, you will destroy our economy. So this is why they wouldn't allow this stuff. But apparently now, like I mentioned earlier, the pressure is not as great. They're a little more open to it. It may be because they're opening up all of these AI data centers, which require a huge amount. I read an article where one of the centers was enough to run the electrical demand would be enough to run a small city, one of these centers. And they're opening them up, I don't know, 97 or something, some huge number that they're opening up. So they're going to need a tremendous amount of power, and our grid is already stretched beyond its capacities. So I think they may be looking at something like this that would enable them to have their own power stations and not be be a burden to the grid and burden to the people as well. Hopefully their eyes are opening and they're not so tunnel visioned as they've been in the past, where no, it's got to be oil. It can't, if it's not oil or coal or something like that, then we can't have it. I'm hoping that mentality is going by the wayside and being a little more open now that that some of these technologies are becoming more and more popular. You can look online and you can find there's actually I'll see if I can look it up in a second. There's a company who claims that they have what's called 0 point energy, which means that what people refer to as free energy. It's not really free. You got to pay for it one time, and then it's free after that. But that they're going to be delivering next month. They're going to be delivering small generators that can generate, I think it was 100 watts and 500 watts of power that just make electricity on their own.
Yeah, we generated technology imprinting fields that can create that.
That's the whole thing, That's the whole deal. If we can get them to open up, a lot of us, our lives, I keep telling people we should be in the age of the jet. We've already passed that. We should be living like the Jetsons. We should have cars that don't require roads. We should be able to literally beam somebody from one place to another. A lot of the stuff that I saw on Star Trek has already come to pass. The little, what do they call them? The little transmitter thing. I can't remember what they called it. We have that. Well, those are cell phones. It even goes beyond what they had. When they talk to you watch. I would watch Star Trek, and they would go computer, and then the computer would say, "Yeah, well, what do you want?" We have that. That's happened already. Several other things I can't think of right off the bat that you saw on the show that we now have. We have that. So how come we don't have vehicles that can just don't need roads? They just utilize the Earth's magnetism and combined with I think it's sound and what's the sound and
Because
frequency?
it takes time for humans to be evaluated on terms of technologies and knowledge. They don't go on one layer all at once. Humans as a species, you go through a time-termed labor or layer.
But
And
what I'm
then
saying, Blue, what I'm saying is we've had that time. So I've been around for a while. I've been around. I'm in my 7th decade on this planet. So I know what you're saying, and I agree with what you're saying. You,
I'm saying these things will come. They will come to pass eventually in reality for humankind. But it's not going to come all at one time.
I agree. What I'm saying is we've had the time. The time. This. I'm trying to figure out a best way to.
Become eventually obsolete, my friend. And it pretty much will go through how neural tech devices and telepathic communication and re-automation formatting screens. Being able to automatically set into a hyperstar computer in yourself.
Hmm. Well, what I was trying to what I was trying to say is I'm trying to figure out. Okay, so imagine this: it's the year is 1970, and the technology exists in 1970 to equip fighter jets with lasers, to have drones that are controlled by remote controlled from the ground by computer, and to have these fighter jets chase these drones and shoot the lasers and the drones fall down. That was in 1970. So what I'm saying to you is that the technology's been around. It's just that they wouldn't release it.
Right.
If they would have released it way back when, we would have had the times so that when we reach now, it wouldn't be people wouldn't freak out. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Exactly. Would be in such a shock because humans processors can only take so much at a time. They're not that advanced yet.
Yeah. And that's the sad part.
Technologies are real, my friend. Just like you said, what you're seeing in movies, oh, it's just all fake. They're just thinking about it. A lot of that stuff's real. Except when you're going into really stupid things and you know it's not. With some of these advancements, you already know, man. Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. I agree. Yes, Robert, it was Wit's Ministry. You're correct. It was one of the guys in the chat room. If you're familiar with Wits, you can join us on Wednesday nights. I'm the chat moderator at Wits. They meet every Wednesday on Wits website. That was the ministry I was talking to you about earlier that had the circuit that was self-charging, for lack of a better description. These are people, and they tell me that this technology they also have, what do they call it, a fuel-less generator. He says that technology has been around for over 100 years. This was 10, 12, 13 years ago. So now it's over 113 years.
A lot longer than that.
And they wouldn't let it come out. They figured that, I read the story about Tesla. Tesla had an electric car and probably utilized something like the circuit or maybe the circuit. He had an electric car and nobody ever saw him charge it up. He drove it for all over the place. So he had something like this, what I described to you earlier.
Kinetic energy of the lands to instantaneously regenerate it automatically.
Wow.
Kinetic energy of the lands. The core kinetic energy of the lands have an instantaneous remodifier of certain energy and repulsive fields. It easily accesses generators of certain ascent and types of re-emitted electro pulses that can be amplified. And so because there's an instantaneous maneuvering stream of a certain types of kinetic energy here, it's easy to potentially manifest and utilize technology to format with it.
Well, I'm waiting. I'm waiting. 'Cause I can't. It'd be nice to be able to travel from one point to another that would normally take you hours to take you minutes. We should be able to do that already. It's there. I wonder. I wonder how many.
Organizations already have tunneled highways that use aerodynamic suction tubes as well as an elevated perpetual distance streaming.
I didn't.
Might have it too.
Wait, say that again.
Certain higher governments and organizations behind the scenes already have motivators that utilize these aerodynamic suction tubes and perpetual kinetic revolvement streams.
So they want to keep it for themselves, right?
Including the presidents. So there are actual highways under the ground that they have that run through in between dimensions and portals and aero suction tubes that can go on really
I have read about.
speed.
I have read about them. Yeah. But
so there you go. There are certain tunnel systems that humans have already used in secret governments that go between the lands instantaneously and go.
What I read,
able to get back and forth.
What I read was they're not highways; they're mag rails. Is that right? That may be the wrong terminology, but they're like a railroad that runs off of a magnetic, and they travel at hundreds of miles an hour. And they can cross the country in a span of an hour, which would take an aircraft hours to do. Yeah, I believe all that is true. I do, and the evidence of that. People may not remember this, but Elon says he wants to learn how to make tunnels. Elon actually has a company that builds these huge machines that are tunnel makers. They're amazing. I don't know. They're maybe 30 feet in diameter, and as they burrow through the ground, they actually take the dirt that they're cutting through and convert it into some kind of material like cement or something. It's eating up the ground and making a hole at the back end of this thing. It's leaving a finished product that you could walk on right off the bat. It's crazy.
Yeah,
so I know that exists.
And also with this boring tunnel systems in the near future, because he's already obviously works with distributors like us in the Space Force in my department, will create a hyper telekinetic maneuvering, an ability to be able to use teleportation instantaneously between one field and to the other through the boring system, so there's not so much congestion. So I myself as an architect, as well as others, have a coordinated potential terms that could be accessed for this, and as well as in the near future with this boring systems can evaluate utilizing these ports go from here and instantaneously to certain areas in Mars. And as well as other areas around the realm, yes. So this is just a start up of what he's doing now that could access into this.
I can't wait. I can't wait. Let's see it. I want to see it happen. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, let's see. We have reports in the chat room says it's snowy. Yeah, you bet your bottom dollar. Holy smokes. We got 15 inches. I'm afraid to go. I haven't looked outside. All my curtains are closed.
I said and warned that this is going to create catastrophe. And my gosh, it's just started. It's just started. The storm has just started. It's not even stopping. I'm
telling you, this is man-made. This is all man-made. All right, Miss.
It was predicted made too.
Yeah. No, it is what you can't. I try to tell people we could avoid. I don't know how much of this we could avoid, but I think it would be quite a bit of it if they'd leave it alone. Just let it be. No, they can't do that. They have to mess with it. I don't know about where you are in Florida, but where I'm at, they literally soaked us, just saturated the sky. One of the few days that we had sunlight, and they saturated the sky with garbage up there. So there's no telling. I don't think. I
Hey,
really don't
Blue's
think.
happy. The weather's happy. That's all you need to know.
Say it
Oh, the
again.
weather's been good today. I said I'm happy. The weather's happy. It's all you need to know. The weather's been good today
Yeah.
in my area.
Oh my goodness. All right, my dear. Well, Miss Blue, thank you so much for sharing with me. I greatly appreciate you taking the time and educating us. It's always an amazing amount of information that comes out. I have to listen extremely close to what you say because, as I've mentioned to you before, your line of vocabulary is not the average person. So we have to really tune in to get your message. And I appreciate you, my dear. God bless you. Thank you.
I appreciate you all as well and taking the time to actually tune in and listen to me and what I have to say. And, as a higher being, it's hard to try to program myself amongst humankind, but that's okay. Like I said, I'm not the only hybrid out there. I'm not the only star seed. But we do what we can to maintain it. Now, some of us are harder and more difficult than others. So humans, they just have to take their own initiative and try to consider what's being evaluated out there, even if it's not understood properly to them. Maybe there's some points of view and some really important facts that need to be imprinted, and the reasons for that to help and assist. I am
Well,
more than happy to do what I can to answer anything that anyone would want to say outwards to me that would potentially create a good overlay. I'm here for you all as a higher being, and will do everything in my power to create and manifest a better world, and as well as any other coordinators out there. But to you humans as a species, you're all gifted. No matter how you see it, you're gifted. You're gifted with one type of progressive strain or the other, and because of that gift, it makes you unique as an individual and a good reason to be able to exist and be here as a species. So remember that.
well, thank you. Thank you. I greatly appreciate it. Wish you a great evening and what's left of the weekend, a great weekend.
Yes, you too, Rascala.
God bless. Good night.
Thank you.
All right, guys, that is Blue. And like I said, if you hadn't heard her before, you had a real treat tonight. There's always a lot of very interesting information that comes from her. It's amazing that a young lady like this has this amount. I'm telling you, she's not from the earth. She's she's an alien, a good alien. Thank you, God. God appreciate people like that. Take the time out of their lives to share with people, information that you can use, and it's always good to have in the back of your mind some of this stuff because it helps you relate to the rest of the world. It helps you. What's the word I'm looking for? Make it through, I guess. So anyway, I got a couple of things I want to share with you real quick before we run out of time. One of them is I found this is pretty crazy. I think that there's a possibility that history can repeat itself. Watch this. This is really nuts.
Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about when I say something is overshadowing us. Listen to what I'm going to tell you. It has to do a situation with Abraham Lincoln and John Kennedy. Abraham Lincoln was elected to Congress in 1846. John Kennedy was elected to Congress 1946. Abraham Lincoln was elected president in 1860. John F. Kennedy was elected president 1960. The names Lincoln and Kennedy each contain 7 letters. Both presidents were particularly concerned with civil rights. Both wives of both presidents lost children while living in the White House. Both presidents were shot on a Friday. Both presidents were shot in the head. President Lincoln's secretary was named Miss Kennedy. Kennedy's secretary was named Miss Lincoln. Both were assassinated by Southerners. Both were succeeded by Southerners. Both successors to both presidents were both named Johnson. Andrew Johnson, who succeeded Lincoln, was born in 1808. Lyndon Johnson, who succeeded Kennedy, was born in 1908. John Wilkes Booth, who assassinated Lincoln, was born in 1839. Lee Harvey Oswald, three names, Lee Harvey Oswald, who was said to have committed, assassinated Kennedy, was born in 1939, exactly 100 years apart. Both assassins were known by their three names. Both names are comprised of 15 letters. Lincoln was shot at a theater called Ford. Kennedy was shot in a car made by Ford called Lincoln. John Wilkes Booth ran from a theater and was caught in a warehouse. Oswald ran from a warehouse and was caught in a theater. Both Oswald and Booth were assassinated before they could go to trial. All of these coincidences are not coincidences.
That ought to get your mind thinking. What are the odds of something like that? Over and over and over. Is history repeating itself? All right, one more video. This one's a little bit longer, but I think we have enough time to play it. And I thought I'm very much agreement with this guy, so I wanted to share it with you. And you tell me, do you feel like what this guy's about to say?
You gotta hand it to Americans. They still treat the Constitution like it's some ancient magic spell that keeps evil away. As if parchment and calligraphy are gonna leap out of a museum case, choke a senator, and restore the Republic. It's paper with words, folks, not a Marvel superhero. And impeachment? Don't make me laugh. That's not justice. That is political burlesque. A bunch of overpaid clowns pretending to punch each other for the cameras so the peasants feel like accountability still exists. It's WWE for college-educated idiots. Lots of yelling, no actual hits, and behind the curtain, everyone cashes the same checks. You don't get a revolution from hearings and subpoenas. You get a fucking matinee show for a dying empire. Here's the thing nobody wants to say out loud. The collapse that you and I are living through isn't random. It's not a whoops situation. It's not bad luck. It's not a coincidence. It's a strategy. And that strategy has a cast list. We know their names, we know their institutions, and we know what they're building. It's not about left versus right. It's about the managerial class, the people who control the money, the technology, the information, and the narratives. They don't run for office. They don't debate on TV. They don't argue with peasants online. They pull levers, issue memos, fund think tanks, make treaties, write reports, and change policies that nobody voted on. Start with the money. The central banks run the financial world. The Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, the Bank of England, the Bank of Japan, and the Bank for International Settlements. And that last one is the Vatican of banking. The BIS tells the central banks what rules to follow, what tools to use, and how to manage global liquidity. Nobody elected Jerome Powell. Nobody elected Christine Lagarde. Nobody elected the BIS general manager. Yet, these people decide interest rates, monetary policy, money supply, inflation targets, and the fate of currencies. They can crash an economy or stimulate it with a meeting and a press release. Congress doesn't control the dollar. The Fed does. and the Fed is a private cartel. The peasants think they have capitalism. What they really have is monetary feudalism. Then, look at the corporations that control actual assets. BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. Between the three of them, they have over 25 trillion in assets under their management. They are major shareholders in almost every major brand you touch. Food, energy, medicine, tech, media, defense, and transportation. BlackRock owns Pfizer stock. BlackRock owns Lockheed Martin stock. BlackRock owns Google, Microsoft, Meta, JP Morgan, Chevron, Amazon, and half of the S&P 500. When you own the companies that control the news, the war machine, the medicine, the social media, and the supply chains, that is not a free market. That's a monopoly empire disguised as capitalism. On the government side, you've got the intelligence agencies that never lose power no matter who wins elections. CIA, NSA, FBI, DHS, Five Eyes Alliance. Unelected surveillance bureaucracies with permanent budgets and zero accountability. They don't answer to presidents. Presidents answer to them. The intelligence state decides what information reaches the public, what gets censored, what gets classified, and what gets buried. They helped overthrow governments in Iran, 1953, Guatemala, 1954, Chile, 1973, Ukraine twice, 2004 and 14, and that's just the highlight reel. If they'll topple foreign governments, why would anyone believe they wouldn't shape domestic politics? Then add the international institutions that write global policy without a single vote from a single citizen. The United Nations, the World Bank, the IMF, the World Trade Organization, the World Health Organization, and the World Economic Forum. These groups decide pandemic policy, economic policy, digital ID policy, climate restrictions, trade rules, and migration rules. They write the scripts nations follow. During COVID, heads of state didn't draft their own policies. They copied WHO guidelines. They copied WEF papers about vaccine passports. They copied CDC protocols. It was a global copy-paste operation. That's not democracy. That's managerial synchronization. And behind them, you've got the NGOs and the philanthropic foundations that operate like shadow governments. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation, Open Society, Clinton Foundation, Ford Foundation. They fund media, science, education, elections, think tanks, NGOs, and health programs. When you fund the information pipeline, you don't need censorship. The narrative censors itself. And if a story doesn't serve the program, it simply doesn't get grants. The playbook is always the same. Create a crisis, sell a solution, expand control. After 9/11, we got the Patriot Act, mass surveillance, NSA, spying, DHS, TSA, endless wars, and trillions in defense spending. After 2008, we got bank bailouts, QE, inflation, asset bubbles, and corporate consolidation. After COVID, we got lockdowns, digital passports, mRNA contracts, censorship, labor restructuring, and a new international health treaty in the works. Every crisis takes more freedom from the bottom and delivers power to the top. Every crisis expands the managerial class, and every crisis ends with the peasants paying the bill. Meanwhile, everything is failing at the same time. You've got $38 trillion in U.S. national debt and $700 trillion in global derivatives exposure. You've got birth rates collapsing in the U.S., Europe, Japan, China, and South Korea, all below replacement levels. You've got 60% of American adults on at least one prescription drug and 20% on 5 or more. You've got record mental illness, record unaliving, record addiction, record loneliness. You've got failing infrastructure, failing schools, failing families, and failing communities. You've got 40% of the United States having less than $400 in savings, and the average home costing 8 to 10 times the average income. You've got food controlled by 10 corporations, media controlled by 5, and social platforms controlled by 2. And while all of that is burning, the ruling class is moving towards central bank digital currencies, digital IDs, ESG scoring, climate quotas, smart cities, 15-minute districts, and AI-mediated behavior control. The peasants get propaganda about safety and equity and efficiency and sustainability. The ruling class gets permanent control over movement, money, speech, and identity. That's not a conspiracy theory. That is a public policy rollout with published white papers. And the funny part, the tragic part, the Carlin part, is that the peasants still think voting is going to fix it. They're arguing over Republicans and Democrats while BlackRock, the Fed, the IMF, and the intelligence state rearrange the world. And the peasants scream about impeachments, as if taking one puppet off the stage changes the play. The peasants have opinions. The ruling class has architecture. And when you look at the big picture, you realize the system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed. The only things breaking are the illusions.
Did it again. There we go. My camera doesn't like me. So a lot of what that guy said, I agree with. Now, probably he made it a while back because we're stepping away from the WHO. We're stepping away from the WEF, the World Economical. You know what I'm talking about. It's late in the day, late in the night, and I haven't had any coffee. The IMF, I think Trump said that he's having second thoughts about the IMF. The CDC is being rebuilt, basically, thank you to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Trump has openly stated that housing needs to be one of the priorities, that he wants to be able to have Americans to have the American dream. The American dream is to own a home. And as just about everybody knows, it's almost impossible these days with people rising. Now, the only people owning a home now are people that have had a home for quite some time, or people that are doing quite well financially. The area that I was in when I was in West Palm Beach, believe it or not, the house that I was in originally went for about 180. When I had it, it was probably closer to 230. That was like 10 years later. When I left the area, houses were going for $750,000. 3 bedrooms, these aren't fancy houses, people. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. I didn't have a pool. The one that had a pool went for $750,000. They ended up, the one that I was in, they ended up selling it for, I think it was 600 and some change. It had just gone nuts. It has gone absolutely crazy. And you can't, little 1-bedroom home, it's like living in New York or California. It's just not bearable. And it's not fair to those who are struggling and working 6 days a week, some of them 7 days a week, and still can't make it. They still can't have enough money to live in a quality place. They have to live in the dregs of the world. So he's working on housing. The food, he mentioned the food, that food is all poison. Well, we're changing that as well. I heard that all of the synthetic dyes are going to be out by next month, I think it is. No more synthetic dyes. I think it's effective next month. I know it's no more synthetic dyes effective. Exactly when, I'm not positive, but I think it's next month. So a few of the things that he mentioned have already been, worked its way out. There's still stuff that needs to be worked on. I wanted to share it because a lot of the stuff he said I was in agreement with. Had the other side won, we would not be here today. I doubt seriously I would be here today. They were arresting people right, left, and center. And I'm sure, even though I don't have thousands of people, to follow me, I'm sure I'm on the list. They don't like me. So, thank God that Trump won, that we were able to get somebody in there who wants, at least I believe he wants what's best for the country. We'll see. Time will tell. All right. Running rapidly out of time. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for taking the time to let me share with you. Blue is definitely a unique individual. Like I said, she's not from this planet, I'm telling you. Anyway, next week, I'm working on having a guest for next week, but I can't tell you who it is because I haven't committed yet. I don't want to say. I don't want to mess it up. In the meantime, thank you. God bless. Lord willing, I'll be back in a week. We're going through a pretty bad time here where I'm at. We're expecting quite a bit of snow here within the next 24 to 36 hours. So we'll see what happens. Good night, everybody. Stay safe. And those of you who are in the cold area, please be warm.